An Interview with Tess Meckling by Aidan Hennessy. Tess Meckling.
Hello.
Thank you for having me at your house. So I normally start off by introducing the guest, but I was thinking about it and I was actually really interested in how you would introduce yourself. So who is Tess Meckling?
Wow. That's set up for greatness, I feel like. I get to say anything I want.
I know it's a loaded question, but I was also just curious, how do you see yourself?
Yeah. I would say first and foremost, I am a musician. And yeah, that includes all types of music. You know, I've gone to school for various sort of genres, the art, music, right? Classical and jazz. But I'm not exclusive to that. I like to write music and perform in bands, perform solo, do studio and session work. But yeah, I think recently I've realized that my truest love is songwriting and creating and sort of engaging in the art of crafting a song.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I would say. I'm an artist / musician that dabbles in a little bit of everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was one of the questions I had for you is creating your favorite part of the process or performing, or like what would be, your favorite part? So creating obviously is number one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I've come to realize that creating is kind of the thing for me. And for a long time, I think I might have hidden behind that because the performing muscle was not so strong yet.
Okay.
And so over the past few years, I've strengthened that muscle and I've exposed myself a lot more to performing. So, I'd say at this point, they're kind of neck and neck. I do love performing, but if I could only do one thing for the rest of my life, I think it would be creating and writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What separates performing for you? Like, what's different about when you get up there and you perform these songs? Because obviously you'd have a different feeling. Like creating, you're mostly doing it for yourself. And then performing, you're up there and other people are watching you. What are the different feelings that you get?
I would say there's nothing like the rush of performing, right? And that flow state that you can't really create without the spontaneity factor and a little bit of the fear that goes along with being on stage, right? So you never know what's going to happen. And I think I've realized I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So creating is sort of a safe space.
Yeah.
And performing is more putting myself out there and kind of letting whatever happens happen, especially in jazz. So much of it is improvised and is not rehearsed beforehand. And the same tune can be performed differently every single time, even with the same band. So I think that little bit of fear that you don't really know what's going to happen is a really cool part of performing and has pushed me outside of my comfort zone for sure. But I always used to look at older musicians and admire their ability to kind of keep calm, cool, and collected on stage. But that honestly only comes with experience, and it comes with a bit of just letting go and letting whatever happens happen. So
yeah. Older is in older in age?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like a lot of the older cats in the jazz scene, lots of whom are my mentors. They make it look so easy, right? And you kind of look at them and go, wow, they're really in the flow right now. They must have been doing this for a long time, and they have been, but they're fine to, live in the moment, in the present moment. So yeah.
What's the jazz scene like in Vancouver?
You know what? I think we have amazing, talented players here. I think the tricky part about Vancouver is that there aren't a ton of jazz venues comparatively with, cities like Toronto, Montreal. And so for younger folks, it's a grind getting into the scene. It's a worthwhile grind for sure. But mentorship is always a huge part of the tradition. And what I personally have learned from being in this scene is that those relationships are very important and can be very beneficial and very valuable to your growth as an artist, and the connections you make are really what the music is about. So right now I would say it's pretty dominated by the older crew. However, shout out Tim Reinert, who has created this new, I guess it's his own foundation really. It's called the Infidels Jazz. Okay. And his whole thing is bringing the younger artists kind of into the scene and creating spaces for them to play as well. So yeah, just a little plug for Infidels Jazz. So that's happening, and that's really exciting, I think, for a lot of us younger people. Yeah.
Do you think younger people are bringing something new to the scene that the older people haven't really thought of yet or haven't experienced yet?
I don't know about that. Honestly, with this type of music, I feel like so much of it is the younger cats learning from the older players, but not to say that there's nothing new that we're bringing. I think a lot of us do a lot of different types of music. And so that obviously works into whatever music we're doing. So yeah, it's tough to say though. I think more will be revealed on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was curious also, what are the genres that you've explored? And are there any that you want to explore outside of that? Because I know like Sugar Fungus, for lack of a better term, indie pop, and then obviously your jazz side. Is there anything that you haven't explored yet that you're interested in?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Sugar Fungus is interesting because it's such a kind of eclectic blend of all of our different influences, and we do come from different backgrounds. So I would say, yeah, like the classical piano thing that I just have in my bones comes through a lot without me even realizing it. So that's always there. And of course, jazz. And yeah, like kind of dipping more into R&B, neo soul, that whole world that I honestly didn't really even get exposed to until I was like an older teenager. Like I didn't grow up listening to that kind of music, but there's so much history and so much amazing work there. I think I have yet to dip into like a grungier, grittier side, like a more sort of vulnerable, raw side.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. It means there's somewhere to go. But yeah, you know, I'm still getting into like hip hop and rap. That could be a tough one for some people, right? But I definitely respect it. I respect it a lot. But yeah, that's one I haven't really integrated into my songwriting.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not
that's understandable.
Rap, but...
That's understandable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like rapping in itself is even a bit of a different thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Do you feel like music is the easiest place to express yourself?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And do you feel like people learn more about you specifically through your music? Yeah?
Absolutely.
How so?
Well, story time. I think as a kid, I've always been like this. I'm very avoidant of conflict. I'm avoidant of a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Which is a lifelong shed, you know. I'm always working on that, and I think I've grown a lot in that respect. But yeah, I was a closed book as a kid, and it was pretty hard for me as a teenager to, I think, really express myself just day to day with words specifically, and like saying what I thought and felt, and kind of standing up for myself. I think music was always the place where I could just like let it all out. It really was like my biggest outlet. And yeah, I was a bit of a loner. Like, I mean, I had a good time in high school. I love my friends that I made in high school. And I also did the theater program, which was a huge part of bringing me out of my shell and connecting me with other artists and other amazing people.
Did you ever do musical theater?
Not musical theater.
Okay.
Not so far. But I envy those people so much.
Right.
Like, what can't they do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll dip my toes in there one day. We'll see. But that's a different kind of voice for sure. So that takes, I really respect musical theater kids for sure. Yeah. So, you know, growing up with that mind and that like way of being, it was kind of inevitable that I would just, you know, need that place to go to really like feel and process stuff and like be okay with the feelings, you know, that will inevitably come about when you're growing up. So, yeah. Yeah.
I noticed when I was listening to your music, your personal stuff, Leizel, right? And Sugar Fungus.
Yeah.
The main themes that I got out of it was love, loss, and self-discovery as well was a big theme that I noticed, especially with like even the metaphor that you had with like, is it breakfast at Toast? No, it's not breakfast at Toast. Is it
Weekend at Toast?
Weekend at Toast.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sort of metaphor of toast just being like a girl out in the world kind of thing.
Yeah.
I found that really interesting. So when you're writing your lyrics, why are those the themes that you're the most drawn to?
Great question. I mean, I'm such a lover. I feel like I have so much love for people and like, especially in like, you know, my romantic past and romantic relationships. I think just my way of being, I would often close off instead of be honest because it was easier and, you know, there's a lot of fear there. So the best way that I could communicate my feelings, which I felt like were overwhelming, right? Overwhelming for myself, overwhelming for the person receiving. Like, it always felt way more natural to write about it and to sing it than to like say it to their face, you know? Like, the thought of that was just, oh my God, no way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think to some extent, like, all of us in Sugar Fungus are a bit like that. It's not really what you see is what you get. We're a bit more introverted, you know, and that's kind of our, like, the running joke is it's like dance music for introverts. So I think
that's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah. It's you know, but yeah, it's all the journey, and I feel like a different person from, you know, who I was even 5 years ago. So
do you feel like that's the crowd that you draw as introverts? Like, when you're performing and everything, like, you look out at the crowd and you're like, oh, I can tell these people are like me.
I think so, to be honest. I think it's like that. I mean, we don't maybe know how much truth there is to the introverted extroverted thing, but it seems to have held up for a while. I mean, people love to like say that.
Yeah.
Right? But
I think it's a broad categorization, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, we're good at putting on the extroverted thing. We're like extroverted introverts who like to make music and also do other things. But
yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I think we relate to those people for sure.
Do you feel like it's something that you have to put on?
For a while, yes. But I think just being, you know, in this industry and in this scene, it eventually becomes a part of you.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, with artists that I admire, I think they come to some realization that like what they're doing is important and it's valuable and the world needs it and it's okay for them to be who they are. And I think once they accept that, that's when their career and that's when their success really starts to take off, because you have to believe in yourself as an artist and as a person, and you have to accept yourself for everything, the good and the bad. I think once you can get in touch with that, and once you can, you know, be your most connected and social self, that's when things start to happen.
Yeah.
So
that's a thing I'm learning as well. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of Sugar Fungus, you and the guys met through, you were all kind of like mutual friends. That's what I was reading. And then, yeah. And so do you feel like that introverted, extroverted thing kind of bonded you guys and you realized like, hey, maybe we have something here. Maybe we could do something.
Yes, absolutely. I think like the connection that we initially had, you know, it had to transcend real life because we formed during COVID, right? At the beginning, we were just sending each other demos and having Zoom meetings and couldn't really even get a sense of like, who is this person? Who am I talking to right now? Like the first time I met a few of our members was months after we had been sending and writing music and all this. So it was kind of interesting. I think that vibe, all of our vibes were clearly matched from the beginning, but once we really got together, that's when things started to happen, I think. It's always better in person, but yeah.
When was the point that you guys realized maybe we should work together?
Well, I would say it actually started out more as a musical collaboration because two of our kind of founding members, I would say, Alex, our bassist, and Jackson, they had been, you know, jamming and working on music together prior to our band forming. So they were kind of the seeds, I would say. And then they knew Braden from high school. And then Braden and I had worked together. So that was that connection there. And yeah, our first drummer, Aidan, was also in that scene and had worked with us in various musical settings. So yeah, it kind of was like a domino effect, I guess. And yeah, I think from the first meeting and the first opportunity that we had to share music with each other, we knew it was going to be something pretty cool. So there was never any doubt about that. And we've become friends as well. So it's special when you can have both of those things. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How is it being a lead female singer in an all-male band?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know, people can like deny the dynamics of what, you know, how to identify and whatever, all this stuff. But I think it is a different experience innately, like going to watch a show and the energy that's on stage. Like I feel very supported by the band. And I also feel like in an industry where there have been a lot of kind of male dominated spaces, I think that's changing now in the industry. And we're seeing so many amazing women pop up and solo specifically, which is really, really cool. But the guys they're like girls guys. They're super respectful, and they're soft and, and sensitive. And yeah, I kind of just feel like it's like my brothers from another family, but it's good. We have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This will be a question that's not just specifically about the band, but also about yourself. What are some of your favorite venues that you've played?
Yeah, great question. We love playing Guilt & Co. We always have a great time there. I mean,
where's that?
It's in Gastown.
Okay.
It's that little cheeky underground pub, I guess, restaurant. And they always have great music in there. I think that's the cool thing is you go there on any night of the week and you know there's going to be something cool happening there. So we've played there a couple times and have always had a great time. Staff are really friendly and awesome as well.
How do you feel about being one of those people that are like the cool music in there?
Oh, you know I mean, it's an honor. It's great. It feels really cool to be a part of that community now. But it's honest to God, it's interesting. Like, I think that transition happens so seamlessly from like, you're just in your room writing music, nobody's hearing it. You form a band, you start playing small venues, and then you slowly work your way up. And, you know, you go to see your friends who are just also performing in bands, and you're like, oh, that's my friend. He's just playing music, you know? Like, I think the allure of it is kind of softened a bit, and not in a bad way. It's like, we're all just here, like, doing what we love to do. And I don't think of it as some grandiose thing anymore. But yeah, it's really cool. It's rewarding for sure. Yeah.
Have you gotten any comments or compliments from other bands through the scene?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're always connecting with new bands. And the awesome thing is you get to choose who you play with most of the time. And playing with bands that you respect and love and admire is a really amazing opportunity. I think a band that we definitely look up to and have some connection to is Peach Pit. They're very inspiring, right? So I remember Mikey from Peach Pit, the drummer, came to our Guilt & Co. show one time, and that was really cool to have him in the audience. So yeah, just little moments like that makes you realize we're all connected and we're all part of the same ecosystem. So it's nice. I mean, and of course, our moms compliment us all the time.
Right. Of course.
That's a given. Those will never stop coming in, but those feel good too.
Yeah, mom compliments are definitely, they keep you going.
Yes.
And the times when you're not getting compliments from others, it's nice to get a good mom compliment being like, you're doing good.
Yeah, totally.
What are some of the biggest changes that have happened for you as well as the band from releasing an EP to releasing an album this year?
I think the biggest change is probably our process. Our writing process has evolved a bit. I think at the beginning with those songs from Letting Go, Moving Still, a lot of those were more or less like fleshed out songs coming from individual people. You know, at the most, like 2 people had collabed on a song and it was pretty much done, except for it was missing a few things. And could we each fill in and complete the song and write our own parts, which is cool. And I love those songs so much. They each kind of have a flavor of sort of a different person. Like retrospect, I wrote that song and had my own version of it on my solo SoundCloud. And then, you know, I brought it to the band and they really brought it to life and made it something different. And it ended up, I think, more polished, and that version resonated with people more. That was a song of mine and people brought in their own songs that they had written themselves. And that was sort of our approach. But the new stuff we write together and it's very, very collaborative. Like we'll all contribute to the lyrics and we'll all have things to say about each part. And we're not as reserved anymore about just kind of chiming in and speaking up when we feel a sense of something, you know, if something has to change or if we feel like this really has to be this way, we're a lot more ready to collaborate on that and to like talk about that and try stuff. So I think that translated into the music, and I think like our songwriting has grown a lot. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you have to like give up on an idea?
I used to feel very protective about it. I think that's why I was scared to collaborate with people. I think I told myself, oh, I just prefer to work solo. But I think getting to a point where you can collaborate is huge because we need people to be inspired, and like we're social creatures and that translates into art as well. And, you know, it's not to say that we can't do things solo and create beautiful work by ourselves, because sometimes you do just need that. But I think now I'm a lot less precious about stuff like that. Even in my own writing, like if I write a rough draft of a song or something or whatever, and I feel like it's too long or like those lyrics are not actually good, I'll scrap them and I'll be like, this is not serving the music, right? Even though I might have really liked those when I first wrote them. Yeah, you have to be able to kind of discard stuff. So it can still be tough, but it's a muscle again that I'm working on. So
yeah. What are the best ways for you to gain perspective on things like that? Is it time between writing? Is it taking a step back? Like what's the...
I think time is always a huge one, even if it's just a night's sleep, right? And there's kind of like the vision we have of somebody like grinding and working all throughout the night into the wee hours of the night and not stopping until it's like done or perfect or you finish this section or whatever, like just push through it. But I think I've tried to be a little more chill with that. Just said, Tess, like, just stop. I know you have all these ideas in your head of what you want to do right now, but like put a pin in it, come back to it tomorrow. You'll feel better. You'll sing better. You can go to bed now. It's 3 a.m. So yeah, just having a little bit of discipline to be like, hey, it's still there. It's still going to be there. It's not going anywhere, right? But like give yourself the grace of like, you're a human. You need to rest and think about it and go for a walk, you know?
Obviously, when you're in a space like that where you're like, I want to get this done today, but it's 3 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah.
Are you putting time pressure on yourself? Do you set deadlines for yourself that you're like, I have to have this done at a certain point? Or are you a little more open to it's going to take the amount of time that it takes?
If I'm working with people, I try to have some sort of loose deadline in my head. I could do that more. I don't put a specific time or day to it. I kind of have an idea of when I want to have stuff done. If it's myself, I don't put any deadlines on it. I kind of am very intuitive with that stuff. I'm like, well, it's going to take however long it's going to take. And I'm not going to stop doing this until it's the way I want. Sometimes, that's interrupted by a night's sleep. But yeah, stuff can take a really long time when you do it like that. But if I'm hearing something in my head that's like, I need this song to sound like this, I'm going to get it there, even if it takes a long time, which is maybe not the best way, but it's my way for now and it's working for now. So, yeah.
Everybody has a different way of reaching the goal, right? So, yeah. So moving on from SUGARFUNGUS area, the Tess Meckling Quartet.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Sure. I mean, the Tess Meckling Quartet has revolving members, I would say. It's kind of a typical thing in the jazz scene. You play with a bunch of different people. Or it can be a way to perform. But we play tons of different stuff. Like, it's all rooted in the jazz tradition. As a vocalist, I love the American songbook era.
What is the American songbook era? I don't know what that is.
Tunes that were popularized from plays and movies and things that kind of made their way into the jazz tradition.
Okay.
Sort of redefined in a way. Think like Ella and
Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah. And Frank Sinatra and... But yeah, I feel like different instrument players are going to have kind of different sweet spots and different ties to like artists and things they resonate with. I mean, it's all one and the same. It's all the same beautiful tradition. But myself personally, like I love stuff with lyrics. I love we're singers. We emote with the words. And that's a huge part of what I like to do when I perform. Yeah, especially, I ain't no Sarah Vaughan. I don't have those huge chops and, no one will ever be Sarah Vaughan. But for me, like I find the most resonance with how I can portray the lyrics and how I can sing dynamically. So I play off that. I don't try to be Sarah Vaughan or Ella Fitzgerald. I try to be myself, but with these very beloved tunes. So yeah. So yeah, the quartet, we have fun. We play when we can. And a lot of those guys are also doing their own thing. So they're off doing pop gigs and doing tours and stuff. So it can be sporadic, but...
Who are the members?
So a few of them, like I say, it's people coming and going, but my boyfriend, Carl Young, he's a pretty solid drummer for us.
Yeah.
I love playing with him. And then Benjamin Millman was one of our keyboard players for a little bit. He's a busy guy for sure. People probably know him just from his name. We've had Olivier Leclerc play bass for us. We've also had Bella Federigo, who's a really great upcoming bassist, young bassist from CAP. Yeah, I feel bad if I'm forgetting somebody. We've also had a Seth Kitamura on keys, which is cool because he's a drummer. So he's one of those. He can kind of change and jack of all trades. It's really dependent on, hey guys, who's free? I like playing with you and I see that you're available. So let's do a gig.
Is it just singing and piano or do you also do other instruments?
Those are my main two. Yeah, those are the ones that I feel comfiest with. And I would love to, I've been telling myself this for a while, I would love to really dive more into guitar. I love the guitar as an instrument. I think it's so cool. It's just such a mobile instrument and it's so intimate. Like the piano is amazing. You can do so much and essentially be your own band with piano in a weird way. But the guitar is so man, like a guitar and vocal duo can be really, really intimate and magical. So I'm working on that. I'm getting my guitar chops up a little bit, but it's a long road, It's like a 10-year journey to learn an instrument, I think, depending on, your time and dedication. But we'll see. Hold me to that. Hopefully I'll have improved next time you talk to me.
Yeah. If we do another interview, maybe I'll be like, okay, so guitar. Have you learned anything?
Yeah. Tell me about guitar theory.
Yeah. So for a lot of your solo stuff, you've got a bit more of an intimate vibe. If you did start playing guitar and you were saying like solo stuff where just you and a guitar, do you think you'd want to try out like some folk kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Carl and I talk about this all the time. We love listening to folk. Like when, oh gosh, you go for a walk in the forest on a nice autumn day and the trees are all beautifully orange and dying and it's cold and sunny and you just need a tune to match your emotion. Like folk stuff is just so soulful in its own way. You know what I mean? It's sort of a modest, soulful experience. And I love the energy that comes from that and the ethereal soundscape. Starting to sound really pretentious with all these words, but you know what I mean? Like take Sufjan Stevens, for example. His music is so beautiful. And I think it's the instrumentation that he uses. And I think it really is, coming from that folk tradition. So we love folk, but we don't make it. We're like, why aren't we making this kind of music? We love it so much. So maybe that's a new venture. We'll see.
Yeah, and I think the storytelling in folk is also really strong.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Totally. Oh, yeah. Major part of that for sure.
Do you write exclusively from your own experiences or do you sometimes create stories?
For my solo stuff, it's always from me because I feel like that's the most honest. But I think it's a true craft and art as well to write from someone else's perspective and to kind of put yourself in someone else's shoes. I think with Sugar Fungus, though, I get to lean more into that because, we're still bringing our own songs and our own lyrics that we've written. And I'm singing stuff that maybe I haven't personally experienced in the same way, but I can find some little nugget of similarity in what I've gone through to what, Braden or Alex or Jackson has gone through, or Andrew. So more to be explored there for sure. But for right now, it's all kind of my own psyche, my own darkness coming out.
Do you discover things about yourself through this process, through writing, that sometimes you even surprise yourself, like you didn't even know was there, and then you're like, oh, damn, okay, that's how I feel about this particular situation? Or
yes, 100%. And I think even going back years to songs that I had written at that time, to be able to zoom out and go, wow, that was just a little piece of this grander scheme.
Yeah.
Or like this grander puzzle is so cool because obviously you can only ever live in the moment and you can be so caught up in your emotion and your perspective on things. And, a lot of the time we think we know what's going on. And to some extent, yeah, we know what's going on with us in that moment. But you take time and you reflect back and you go, that was actually this, or that person didn't even feel the way I thought they were feeling. It can be a timestamp of like, this is what was true for me at that time. And now I know that is either not true or it just wasn't what I thought. Right.
Yeah.
Which is always funny. It's humbling. You're like, yeah.
So it's like a bit of a journal.
Yes.
In a way.
Absolutely.
Interesting. This is something I was really curious to ask you. I read a post of yours and you said that you're resistant to promoting your stuff on social media.
Yeah.
Because it feels trivial. Expand on that.
The internet is insane, right? It's chaotic. There's so much. We're just bombarded with everything all at once.
Yeah.
Right? Information overload. And I think as an artist, what we're doing can feel, at least for me, self-serving. And like, how dare you get to indulge in your biggest love and work in this field and get to experience your love for this art and think that people care about that, that sounds so dark, right? It sounds like that nagging little voice in your head that you just want to shake. But that's kind of the conditioning that at least I have been brought up with. Like, there's so much destruction and there's so much suffering in the world.
Yeah.
And, the part of me that is filled with love and understanding knows that like art is a way of healing to that and that I can contribute to that. But it still has this flavor of like self-indulgence, right? And so I'm learning to shake that, I think, one step at a time, but I don't think that ever really goes away. And something that I have tried to integrate and honor, I guess, is that we can't save the world alone, right? I think the biggest thing we can do is show up in our communities and with our friends and our family and people we love and fill up our cup. And once we feel full, expand that to other people. But it can get pretty dark sometimes, you know, when you really consider you and your little old self in the world of everything going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to bring up the point, though, that I think with music, you're definitely bringing something of substance to the world rather than, I think a lot of people are putting stuff on social media that is just garbage.
Yeah.
If I'm being totally honest. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that's aimed at just distracting people or scamming people or that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, what you're putting out is actually something of substance. It's art.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But I get the feelings that you have. Like, it can often feel overwhelming when you see everything that's going on and you feel like, oh, I don't really have any power to change that. And I get the sort of feeling of like self-serving, like I'm just doing this for me kind of thing. But I think especially with music, when you're putting it out there, it might be helping someone get through something or, you know, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good reminder. You know, I think we need constant reminders of that. Yeah.
So I think you're definitely helping people in your own way.
Thank you.
For sure. Okay. How important is creative control for you?
Oh my gosh. It's like you knew this was a tough one for me. I feel like it's similar to working in like group projects in school, you know. There's always one person that kind of takes the reins who's like, I don't want to fail this. I'd rather do everything than like have people impede on my ideas or not do their work. So it can feel like that sometimes. I think it just depends who you're working with, you know. Sometimes the connection is just so there and it's so strong and it's easy. You almost like know what the other person is thinking or feeling, you know, where the song needs to go collectively together. But like I said, I am trying now to like listen more to the actual music and less to myself and less to my ego, because I do think that we're all just sort of little meat sacks and we're little vessels for what really needs to happen and what's being communicated. So I'm working on it. It's not perfect, but yeah, the control thing is, it's a constant grind.
Are you guys with a label right now or no?
We're not. No,
we're independent, right?
Yeah.
Do you think you might sign up with one at some point if that becomes an option? Have you been approached by people?
I think for right now, it's working for us. And we're sort of in a time of life where we've all got other stuff going on. I think it's sort of like chicken or the egg thing. Like if something came up that seemed like a good idea, we might take it, but we might not get there until we're able to dedicate all of our time to it and really, really, you know, make it a priority. Not that it's not, but we got other jobs and we do it when we can. So I think if the right opportunity came about, we would be interested, but for now we're happy with where we are. So.
Yeah, because that would be an interesting test of like, you know, if you get to the point where you guys are on a label or something like that, they're obviously going to have some input.
Yes.
And that'll be I know that's a huge thing for artists is, you know, when business comes into play, it turns into a tough thing.
100%. You know, that can be a bit daunting, but I think we're also in a time where there's a lot more labels and there's a lot more freedom with artists, and you can find the situation that works for you, maybe with some trial and error and a few failed attempts. But I think there's more hope for artists these days in a backwards way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think obviously the internet has given people a lot of different options. Yeah.
Definitely.
How did teaching music come into your life?
Yeah. So I was kind of guided by a piano teacher that I had when I was a teenager. And I really have her to thank for that. Her name is Stephanie Lamb. And I love her so much. She was my teacher from about age, I don't know, I want to say like 15 to like 18, maybe 14 to 18. And I appreciate her so much for coming into my life at that time, because it was a tough time. My parents got divorced when I was 15, and I think I needed like a soft, sort of gentle person to get me through that. And My teacher before her was amazing too. She was a Lori Feudal. She was a teacher I had since I was 5 years old, and she really kind of got me to take it seriously and was firm but kind. And she's also an amazing person and musician. But Stephanie was sort of the push that I needed to get into teaching. So I would shadow her lessons, and then eventually I would just start giving the lessons to little kids and built up from there. And I realized I love teaching privately. So that connection you can have with somebody one-on-one is really special, and it's very rewarding. So yeah, I have her to thank for that.
Yeah, and giving a kid the chance to experience music in the same way that you did for the first time is a pretty special thing.
Oh my God, yeah.
I used to teach skiing.
Okay.
And biking as well.
At the same time?
No, not. What do you mean? Like together, like kids biking down the hill and skiing? No, not like that. No. Different times.
Okay.
Yeah, biking was summer.
Right.
Skiing was winter.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But seeing a kid get something for the first time and have that experience of gaining a new skill or being able to express themselves through art in your case, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is. And like, my whole perspective on kids, I feel like has changed through teaching. Like, they're just people, man. Like, we were kids, like everybody, we've all gone through that stage of life, and it's so formative, and they have the right to exist and learn and be just the same as we do. And I think even like elementary school teachers kind of get, the short end of the stick. And it's kind of, I don't think teachers are respected as much as they should be, because they're literally forming our new society, our new members of society. And I think kids are amazing. Honestly, there's so much we can learn from them. So that's been really cool too.
What is something that you've learned from a child?
Wow. I think the biggest thing as of late, it's actually weird. I kind of took a break from teaching little kids for a bit and started teaching teens and even
people
some
my
seniors.
age.
Yeah, people your age, adults and adults plus, like elderly people as well, which is cool.
Right.
But with the kids, like, you kind of got to go with the flow, and you can't force stuff to happen that is simply not going to happen. Like, you can have a whole lesson plan laid out, and sometimes they just want to tell you a 5-minute story about their day and about their music class and show you a song that they learned in class. And you should be honored to let them do that, because it's their little moments of excitement and connection, and just kind of letting it happen and working with them and not trying to be the disciplinary guy all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like a practice of letting go. I think it's prepping me for parenting, hopefully, I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
But just to chill out a little bit and not be so serious.
Okay. Talking about kids, when was your first performance?
Whoa. Damn. Let me think about that. Probably a recital. Probably a piano recital when I was, let's say, 6 or 7. Yeah, because I imagine I probably would have had to been playing for like at least a year before I performed in any sort of public space. But yeah, I was quite little, I imagine.
Do you want to tell the story you were telling me about the piano, getting your first piano? And
yeah, I think my parents knew that I was going to be a musical kid. Like, it was never a chore for them to get me to practice, which it can be a struggle with a lot of kids, especially kids around, 9, 10, 11 years old. They kind of are starting to get a bit of autonomy and their own opinions about what's worthwhile and, what my friends are doing and what's cool and what's not cool. And I never had any of that. I was always at the piano, honestly. If I wasn't like, seeing a friend or doing homework or doing sports or whatever, I was playing that piano. And yeah, I think I was 5 and we were moving into a new house, just 2 houses down from our old house, actually, in the same street. And the movers were hauling in this huge upright piano, one that had been in the family for a while, and this huge staircase from the front door leading up to like the living area. And there's a bunch of them trying to lift this thing up, and they're looking at me standing at the top of the stairs going, "You better play this damn thing once we get it up here." And I said, "I will, I'll play it." And I did. I made use of their sweat on that day. So yeah, I think it was meant to be, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you know I'm good at this?
Wow. I mean, I feel like kids have a lot of thoughts of that. Like the ego starts to kind of creep in before they know what. It's like, chill out, kid. But I think when I started to get really interested in figuring out songs by ear, that's when I kind of knew, hey, this isn't that hard. Like, I love this freaking whatever Coldplay song or this, whatever I was listening to at the time, Sting, like whatever my dad had on.
Right.
And I would love to just go to the piano and figure out what the hell's going on here. At that time, I knew about 4 chords, right? So if it was one of the major chord progressions, 1, 5, 6, 4, baby, I got that in whatever configuration. But then I started to learn about different chords, and that opened up my world because I was like, wow, there's more than just 4 chords. I can do this. So I think that really inspired me and inspired me to start writing music as well. So I was like, if they can do it, I can do it too. Yeah. So probably around then, I think I was about 10 or 11 when I started doing that.
Right.
So, yeah.
What are some things you still find difficult or challenging in music? Things that you're like, I've got to figure this out.
I mean, just objectively big things like jazz piano, man, is a whole beast. I have so much respect for jazz pianists. Holy shit. It's like also coming from classical, it's like a different animal. It can be transferable and it can help having that background, but it's its own thing. And you got to show up and you got to just do it. And you can't be so perfectionist about it, which is something that I'm always grappling with, right? So I think it's a mindset thing. It's a discipline thing. And yeah, just improvising in general. Like, I feel pretty comfy now as a vocalist improvising, at least in a sort of jazz setting. Not to say that there's not always more to be done. I mean, I'm going to be trying to improve that for my whole life. But yeah, jazz piano is oh my God, it's proving to be very difficult. So I'm working on it. Definitely working on it when I can. But yeah, tons of respect for those masters.
Yeah, and going in and having to decide on the spot how to approach something or what you want to play or whatever, that's a crazy experience.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. It can be practiced and trained, but to some extent it's also just like, do you have the personality for that? Like, can you show up and do that, right? So we'll see. We'll see how my journey goes. But vulnerability, I think, right, is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a movie I love where a woman in the movie is talking about art is just being vulnerable, willing to put yourself out there. And, if you look like a fool while you're doing it, that's okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And you will look like a fool for at least the first part, if not forever, to some extent. So that's cool.
Have you ever had any moments where you felt like, oh man, that did not go well?
Oh, yeah. Totally. Like on the gig, you haven't really looked at your tunes enough maybe, or, you're just, especially in school, like there's so much on your plate. You kind of have to prioritize stuff, and maybe you didn't learn that tune that well and you're getting tested on it and you're just throwing shit at the wall. And they know it. Your prof knows it. You know it, In a performance setting, sometimes the audience knows it. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
So that's really the fake it till you make it thing. But, oh yeah, I've shot the bed for sure.
Right.
In public, many times.
I think we all have.
Yeah.
Do you go into performing with a calmness, or do you worry about that kind of stuff when you're going in?
It depends on the gig. It really depends. There have been moments where I feel carefree and I feel, open to whatever happens. And usually those are the gigs that go better overall, or at least my attitude is more calm and collected. But yeah, I mean, I used to get super nervous, like especially for piano performance. Like I remember one time at CAP, there was this like scholarship performance. Essentially, it was like a showcase, I guess, or a competition, really. And I had taken on this piece that was like way too hard for me. I think it was like a Brahms Hungarian dance for solo piano or something like that. And, I'd practiced. I was sounding pretty good in the practice room, and I went up to play, and my hands were literally just shaking so much I couldn't play the tune. Like I tried, and, they cut me off early. They were like, thank you. And and I knew, I was like, yeah, like this was, I bit off more than I could chew.
Oh man.
And it was a good lesson, but sometimes that happens, and that's kind of a sign. It's something to take away. I wouldn't have changed that, honestly, because I think about that now and like, man, she was so young and she was trying her best. And, that nervousness, I hadn't learned to channel that into, like, people talk about channeling it into like excitement, right?
Yeah.
Like taking that adrenaline and just telling yourself, I'm excited. I'm not nervous. And I think a little bit of nervousness is good, but when it gets debilitating like that, it's, you might have to reassess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like come a long way from that, girl.
How do you deal with moments like that after the fact when you're like thinking about them and just unpacking them for yourself, or being like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. This is how I would deal with that situation now. Like, I feel like sometimes you were even touching on it, it can be debilitating, right? It can make you feel like, oh, and you get nervous and all that. So like now, how do you turn it into a learning experience for yourself?
Kind
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
I think just realizing that like everybody, icons and like people who inspire us, all those people have started from some place like that.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it more special, like who wants to listen to someone who's just been born with, didn't have to work for it. I don't even think that exists, right? So it used to really get to me for sure. You're comparing yourself to your peers and your mentors, and you're asking yourself, am I actually doing the right thing here? Turns out piano performance was not my thing. I realized, okay, I'm not going to be a classical pianist. I am not the best at this. And there are people who are the best at this. And I am cheering those people on. And that's, incredible. And I respect them so much. But I think I knew at that point, like, this isn't for me. This particular thing is not for me. And so those little failures are like, I think, an indication of that. And yeah, at this point, if something like that happened to me, I think I'd be able to hopefully laugh it off, depending on the situation, the event, the audience. But nothing like that has happened in the most recent years, which I think is a good sign. Hopefully means that I'm on the right path, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's so cliche, but like, the failures that we consider to be moments of despair and whatever, like they just help you grow, you know? So we wouldn't be who we are without them. So
I think going through moments like that, it's kind of like building muscles, or if you're whatever you're trying to do, it's experience and practice, right? So the more experiences you have with like having a moment of failure or stuff like that, it doesn't affect you as much.
Exactly.
You learn like, oh, this is just part of it. Nothing really happens.
Yeah, you grow thicker skin, right? And just like learning not to take things as personally. I think when you're that age, especially for me, you just take stuff so personally.
Yeah.
And it's really never that deep. It's not really about you.
Yeah.
It's mostly either about the other person, or it's the situation, or it's just not as deep as you're making it. And I think, once you get some sort of comfort in that, it's much easier to take opportunities and like fuck up and fail and, move on to the next thing and discard. And so. Yeah,
but it feels like you when you're out there, because it is you that's out there. So I think art in particular is one of those things that when you have a setback or a failure, it can feel really devastating.
Totally.
So it is really cool to hear how you've kind of like dealt with that and now where you're at.
Totally. It's all useful, right?
Yeah. Who is someone now in the music industry, big or small, that makes you feel like we were talking earlier about when I was talking about Jon Stewart and how I just feel like he's hit something, he's got the truth. I like what he's doing. Who's someone that you're like, I like what they're doing. They make you feel a certain way that other people don't. Yeah.
I got one big and one, well, they're both very established artists, but I mean, Billie Eilish is a huge inspiration for me.
Yeah.
So I really relate to her, and I love her songwriting.
Yeah. I was going to say, I can hear her influence when I listen to your music. Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
That's cool.
I can see that.
Yeah. I feel like I listen to her music and I resonate, and I kind of think like, ooh, I'm glad you did that. Like that's a really cool thing. And I see you and I hear you, and just her voice in general is like mesmerizing, like her actual vocal quality and her control and everything. And I think she and Phineas particularly have like a very special like synergy and connection, and they're just one killing duo. And then I also have really been into Adrian Lenker. Do you know the band Big Thief?
Yeah, sure. I've heard of Big Thief. Yeah.
They are the singer of that band, and also the guitarist, one of the guitarists, I think. And yeah, like her music is just, her lyrics are so, first of all, just clever and raw and real. And I think it's amazing when you can make like the menial sort of trivial daily things into something so beautiful and like profound. And I think she really, really does that, especially with her lyrics. But I mean, the music is beautiful. It's so like, it's not showy. it's very honest. It's just very honest, and particularly her album Abyss Kiss, and one of the songs on there, I believe, is called Symbol. And the first moment I heard that song, I was like, this is different. Like, I've never heard music like this. It's dark and it's very, very deep, and it's also soft at the same time. And her voice is very unpolished in the best way. So I really appreciate that. You know, she's not trying to be something that she's not. I feel like she just sings and she means everything that comes out in just the particular way that it does. So yeah, I really, really love her.
Cool.
Yeah.
And remind me of her name again.
Adrienne Linker.
Adrienne
Yeah.
Linker. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check her out.
Yeah, do it.
Very cool. I think maybe that's a good place to end.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, likewise.
Yeah, at your place.
Pleasure.
Hopefully we have another conversation at some point.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
I'd love to.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tess.
See ya.
My interview with Tess was recorded back in November of 2024. Although, I think now is the perfect time to release this interview, as Tess is releasing new music on May 23rd under the name leizelmusic. I will put the links to her social media below. Thanks for listening.